Hey there, Lincoln here from ballacademy.org. Today I want to talk to you about SBE Switchback Energy, the SPAC taking Chargepoint public in Q4 2020. And I want to just quickly walk you through the detailed transaction overview on page 33 of the SPAC deal presentation. And of course, if you want to see the whole deck, look below in the description of this video and you'll find a link to the presentation. I do plan to walk through the entire presentation at some point soon, but right now I want to focus on this slide because I've been getting many questions about the ownership stakes of all the involved parties in the deal. So once the deal is complete, what will the ownership stake look like? How much of Chargepoint will we, the SPAC investors, have once the SPAC merger is complete? And of course, the question on everyone's mind in the SPAC world these days, are there PIPE investors in this deal? The answer is yes. And for good reason. We have covered that in a previous video. So if you don't know what PIPE investments are and their value in big deals, you should go watch our previous video so you can understand that better, because they play an important role in these deals. We cannot afford to buy huge companies on our own. So we need some help, and that's what PIPE investors are here for. So go watch that video and learn more about PIPE investments. To find that video, just go to our YouTube page at ballacademy.org or look in the description below and it should be there. If it's not, just go search, it's very easy, and you can find all of our videos at ballacademy.org. And before we dive into this transaction overview, I want to ask you a favor to like the video below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment below what your thoughts are on SBE, Chargepoint, and this presentation as I walk through it. Your engagement really helps the channel grow and encourages me to continue to bring these videos to all of you so that we can all learn how to invest better by knowing exactly what we're investing in and understanding these companies. And if you want to support the channel further, join us at patreon.ballacademy.org. You will get direct access to me and more frequent access to my investment portfolio. And of course, you will get to engage with the rest of the community members in our Discord channel that we're going to start very soon within the next week. So join us over at patreon.ballacademy.org to support the channel. Okay, so first we're going to look at the detailed transaction overview in the presentation that was introduced when the deal was announced. After that, I'm going to read you the updated terms of the deal that Switchback Energy filed with the SEC on October 19th, so just only a few weeks ago. And that has new numbers, so it's good to know what the updated numbers are in this S4 registration for securities. So let's start with the presentation. The presentation shows that Switchback Energy has $317 million in cash held in its trust fund for this deal. In addition to that, they have a PIPE investment of $225 million. Those are private investors who have invested in this deal to close the gap between what Switchback Energy has in its trust fund and what the deal requires to complete the merger. So the PIPE investors have closed the gap for us. And this deal values Chargepoint at $2.4 billion in enterprise value. And of course, they also say that this valuation is very attractive in relation to other EV companies in this ecosystem. And the capital structure of the deal, the net cash that the company will have to fund growth and expansion, will be $650 million in cash. So what you probably care about is this pro forma ownership. And all of this is based on a price of $10 per share. So if you look at this pie chart, it shows that most of the ownership will be retained by existing Chargepoint shareholders at 80.4%. And then there's the founder shares. The founders of the Switchback Energy SPAC get a 2% stake for putting the deal together. That's part of their payment. And then there's the PIPE investors, as mentioned before. They get 7.4% of the deal. And then of course there is us, the Switchback Energy SPAC investors on the public market. We get 10.3% of the deal. So we do get more equity than the PIPE investors. From there we can dig deeper and we can see where the cash is coming from. We have $2.45 billion coming from the SBE shares, those are the Switchback Energy SPAC shares that we all invest in. And this $2.45 billion is calculated based on 245 million shares of SBE at a price of $10 per share. That's the baseline price of the SPAC. Then we have $317 million in cash in the trust fund. And then there's a SPAC investment, which is $225 million. And that totals out to around $3 billion in total sources. And how they plan to use the money is to buy shares of Chargepoint at $2.45 billion and then use $458 million on the balance sheet. And of course, they have to pay their debts with $35 million. And they have transaction fees to pay to complete this deal. And that's going to cost $49 million. And that comes out to, again, about $3 billion. Exactly $2,992 million. And now let's look at the pro forma capitalization. From the D-SPAC, or once the merger is complete, that's what D-SPAC means, there's going to be $458 million in cash and cash equivalents on the balance sheet for Chargepoint to use. And Chargepoint has $190 million currently on its balance sheets, and that's going to be included for use after the merger is complete. That brings the net cash to $648 million that's going to go to Chargepoint for expanding its business. That brings the equity value to $3,049 million, which means the enterprise value is $2.4 billion, as mentioned before. And lastly, a deeper look at the ownership stake after the merger completes. So as mentioned before in the pie chart over here, existing Chargepoint shareholders will own 80.4% of the merged company. And then we, the SBE SPAC investors, will own 31.4 million shares, and that will be about 10.3% of the merged company. And then of course, the PIPE investors will own 22.5 million shares, which brings them to 7.4% of the merged company. And then the founders of the SPAC will own about 6 million shares, and that brings their ownership to 2% of the company. So in total, we're going to have almost 305 million shares of the merged company. So those are the details from the transaction overview, but these numbers have changed a little bit. So now let's look at the S4 filing to the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. So according to the Form S4 registration of securities filed with the SEC on October 19th of 2020, about 2 weeks ago, Switchback Energy writes the following. We anticipate that upon the closing, the ownership of new Chargepoint will be as follows. The historical rollover stockholders will own 200 million shares of our Class A common stock, or approximately 77.7% of our outstanding Class A common stock. These historical rollover stockholders refer to the existing shareholders of Chargepoint on the private market. So the early employees, the founders, the private investors who invested in Chargepoint early on, years ago, or even recently in their latest fundraising on the private market. So those are the historical rollover stockholders. They will own almost 80% of the merged company. The good news for us is that this is actually down from the investor presentation earlier this summer. The public stockholders, you and me in SBE, the SPAC, will own 31.4 million shares of the company, which is 11.5% of the company. That's up from the investor presentation that we just looked at. The new PIPE investors will own 22.5 million shares. That's 8.3% of the merged company. And that's also up from the investor presentation. And the initial stockholders, those are the founders of the SPAC, the sponsors who were putting the deal together. They will own 6.8 million shares, and that's 2.5% of the merged company. And of course, the fine print is this, for the avoidance of doubt, does not include shares of Class A common stock that will be issued to certain initial stockholders in connection with the PIPE financing, which shares are reflected in the preceding bullet. So all that says is that they participated in this PIPE deal, so their ownership here isn't representative of their ownership in this part of the deal. That means that they're going to own a little bit more than this 2.5% because they also own part of this 8.3% in the PIPE deal. So that's the breakdown of Chargepoint ownerships after the merger. Once the SPAC merger is complete, that's who's going to own what percentage of the merged company. So we, the public SPAC investors of SBE Switchback Energy, will own about 11.5% of Chargepoint once the merger is complete. That's a pretty good percentage given how valuable Chargepoint is and is going to be in the future. So I'm okay with this breakdown, especially since we own more than the PIPE investors. So as you may know, I'm incredibly bullish on Chargepoint, and I just recently did a video breaking down why Chargepoint is the ultimate pickaxe for the electric vehicle and electric energy future that we all want to live in. Chargepoint enables that future. No matter which EV car company wins, Tesla, Nikola, Hyliion, Fisker, GM, Toyota, whoever, it doesn't matter. They all will need their cars charged by someone, and that someone is going to be Chargepoint on the road or at home. No matter which EV car you have, it works with Chargepoint chargers, and they have the largest charging network around the world, and they have the best business model that I have seen. So I'm incredibly bullish on this company, and I plan to hold it for the long term as I practice the bull mentality. The bull mentality is that we know what we invest in, we understand what we invest in, we believe in what we invest in, and we hold for the long term because that's how we build wealth in this country. That's how we give ourselves the best chance at success on the stock market. So again, I'm a long-term investor in this company, so please don't ask me how I feel about the stock going down, because I know that in the long term, this company is going to be increasingly valuable. And I'm going to be right there along the way to benefit from the appreciation of the value of this asset. So no, I'm not too concerned about the short-term volatility in the stock, because that's how stocks work. Stocks go up, stocks go down. They won't only go up. If you don't know what that is, I've covered stocks in the past, I've covered market capitalization, and I even recently did a video explaining that stocks go down and showing you 4 companies that you definitely know of, that you probably use every day, that have gone down. Even after IPO, they shot down and it came back up. So I am not too concerned about short-term volatility. I am not concerned. So thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, like the video below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment below what your thoughts are on Chargepoint, on SBE, Switchback Energy, and this ownership breakdown. And of course, if you're concerned about the stocks being dumped by private investors after the merger is complete, no need to worry, because about 92.2% of the stocks are subject to a 6-month lockup period. 92.2%. Either way, I'm not too concerned about any dumping that may occur within the first year of Chargepoint being public. Over the long term, that won't matter too much. So anyway, if you want to help the channel grow, join us over at patreon.boacademy.org to get more access to me and get direct answers to your investing questions, and to engage in our Discord channel that should be launching in the next few days. And of course, for those of you who keep asking me for updates on my portfolio, you can get more frequent access to my portfolio and the stocks that I'm watching. So if you're sending me private messages on Twitter and Facebook or Instagram, you should join our Patreon community, because I don't have enough time to respond to everyone. And because I offer more access to myself as a perk of our Patreon community, I will appreciate you supporting the channel by joining our Patreon community at patreon.boacademy.org. I'm Lincoln with boacademy.org. Thank you again and have a great day.